It's Sunday. We are going live, and we'll see if I can maybe put some of these together here. Just double checking as we go here. So just a moment. Mainly because I'm wanting to do this through Restream this time. I've had Restream for quite some time, and they've upgraded some of the things, so I'm doing that too. So let's see here. And today's our Sunday hangout, so I'm glad that you guys could join in. I'm just making sure it's going through, so hang with me there for a minute or two. That's all I'd like to do. Hopefully you guys have had a good weekend there. Yep, it looks like for sure it is going through. Okay, so good enough. That's what I was wondering. All right, you guys. So generally on Sundays, we get together and hang out, as you guys know, and have a little bit of fun. Today, we didn't do our normal coffee shop. Normally, we hang out. We do at the local coffee shop, and we game. Clint and Dee were pretty busy today, both of them. Keegan had some packages he had to pick up from the hobby store, so we ended up going to two different hobby stores. So with that said, that was pretty nice. I had to get a bottle of paint anyways, which I did. I got no, I think I set it back behind me, but I got a new bottle of white paint that's I'm gonna try, which I need to do some. Well, I thought, well, we were sitting here and seeing how you guys are going. I was just gonna look at my Necromunda Palanite Enforcers. I want to say Palatine, but it's not Palatine. It's Palanite. So I was just wondering if I should go ahead and maybe just chit chat, see if you guys are here, hang around, and maybe put these together. There are some options on this. They kind of look like Iron Man to me. You know what I mean? It kind of looks like Iron Man, don't you think? But the captain, the Enforcer captain, he's got a nasty little concussion carbine and a shock baton. So that carbine, by the way, can knock your guy back, and it can it'll make it more like it can knock people off of a platform or something to that effect. So it's pretty good. Oh, what's that? The decals, I think. Oh yeah, there's the decals. And if decals, man, get yourself some of this micro soil or soul, whatever it's called. This stuff's good stuff. It comes in a 2-pack if you get the both bottles, and done a lot of decals and doesn't use very much. So I just thought we could chit chat. Maybe I could put some of these together, see what you guys are up to, see what's going on. Keegan might show up and say hi. He said he was going to try. Bear with me a second here. Yeah. Got to have the tools. This little kit was hella cool for I think $9 or something. I paid for it. Works really well. But we shall see here, because I mean, we got your standard. I want to come apart. There we go. Well, there's a bit more pieces than I thought to this guy, but I kind of want to take a look and see. Looks like I could give him Well, he's a captain, so we're going to do that. Well, hello, Charles. How are you, sir? Hopefully your day is going good. My day's been a little busy, but we ended up going to the local hobby store. Got to finish up. Some of these are my Star Wars guys. There's a few left of them, and I've got paints I ordered for the Rebel faction. When they come in, I'm going to do those. But generally speaking, I just kind of wanted to see on this sprue here. A lot of times for me, and I probably should prime these first. Because I usually just hit them with some spray primer. That's probably what I should do. I almost hate to put them together and then primer them, because sometimes you can't get it everywhere evenly. That's probably what I'm going to do. I have to do it then. The bases are kind of interesting. They have some nice, nice design to them. Kind of like a street base. Yeah, it works. And yeah, that'll go pretty good, I think. Speaking of which, I got to get some bases for. I got to find just some standard bases for my Warhammer guys too. I'm gonna need to get some, because I got a couple figures like this guy here that needs a base. He stands on his own, but really he's got to have a bigger base to do. And I checked the hobby stores today; they don't have one that's gonna fit him. They have like assorted bases, and they're too small. So I'm gonna have to get a bigger one there for him. That's what Keegan ordered, was bases for his vehicle that he's got for his squats. So he's got a base for them. But yeah, I think it'd be best to prime these. Oh, do you prime your stuff there, Charles, before you paint it? I like to try to prime mine while they're on the sprue most of the time. Only because every time I don't, the paint just doesn't adhere as good, at least for me. Some of this stuff's got tiny, tiny little details. And if I use a flat gray primer, it'll make these pop, be easier to actually see. This even has ripples in there like skirt or whatever it is, armor that's coming out the back there. So pretty detailed, I guess. And Necromunda, the ash waste, seems to be pretty good. Hey, Mini Warmutt, how are you, sir? I am using Restream today. I've had it for a while. Remember, Mini Warmutt, me and you were talking. So this is standard here. I might do this. I like Melon, but twice I've had some issues with Melon, and I don't want to be doing a show and then have it, just not be able to continue forward for whatever reason, even though they have quite a bit of stuff. So, yeah. So we'll see about that. And you might hear my granddaughter in the background. I think she's mad because they don't give her enough paints, Let her paint her own toys. Well, Lanchnet, hello. How are you? Let's see here, Mini Warmutt. I can say hi from you. And hi from you. And from you too, Charles. Thank you guys, for showing up. I appreciate it. Ooh, I got to show that, Charles. You got 25 medieval figures that need painting. That's a lot to do in a day. You're going to try and do it today? Oof. And primer them. Reaper figures, box figures, plastic. Yeah. I was thinking maybe I could go through but I think after the show, I think my best bet's going to be I just spray it with the primer that I use, because then the paint, it just comes out better. I'm starting to get somewhat caught up, but Charles, see, like you've got the medieval figures, which I would love to be in that time frame, to be honest with you, on some of the stuff. Oh, Frostgrave. Nice, Lanchnet, nice. Frostgrave, that's cool. 80% done. Well, then you're quicker than me, Charles, because I guess, it depends. I have so little time off. And I do spend more time, I guess, goofing off with the granddaughter, but that's okay. She's a miniature in her own right, Took 9 months to build, came fully assembled, but no directions. So we'll just go forward with that. But on other things too, I don't like to leave like too much open stuff. So I need to finish my Star Wars Rebels, but I'm kind of, it's just me. So the Rebels are back here waiting, but I got the Rebel paint set for them coming. And it was kind of hard to find. It's kind of hard to find them. So the Stormtroopers I thought were going to be easy. Oh, you just paint them white and then black. Oh my God. The black on there is such a pain. I had to use a toothpick literally to get into some of those areas. So those were more difficult than I thought. So let's see here. Yeah. I'm glad you guys are getting your stuff done there. So, but that's my next thing but we're doing Necromunda, so I'm kind of like, you know what I mean? I want to finish up my Rebels, but I'm waiting for the paint. So in the meantime, I'm going to get these guys painted and going because I can game with them, but I just assume for myself to just paint them and put them together. Oh yeah. Cool, Charles. Yep. 2.5-year-old. Ooh, those fun. This one's 7 months old. So yeah, she's a blast. I have a lot of fun with her. And she's at that age, where they just want to look at everything and do everything. So she sees all the stuff on my desk, but I can't let her get next to my desk because it would be it'd be a free for all. So, but yeah, I think that's probably what I should do is do that. That way I can try to catch up because I don't want to be, I just get too far behind sometimes and that's really hard. Oh, thanks, Mini Warma. You're going back and forth watching the Chiefs game. And here, cool. I appreciate that. What'd you ask there, Mini Warma? Does anyone play Rum and Bones, a pirate game? I have not heard of Rum and Bones. I have Sails of Glory, so I play that, and then I got Oak and Iron. With Oak and Iron, I have the Pirate expansion too, because it's 1,700 ships. So it has Blackbeard ship, the Queen Anne, and then I've seen Blood and Plunder. But Blood and Plunder, I just don't know anybody in the area playing it. Although the figures to that are pretty cool, and it's pricey. But yeah, I have not heard of Rum and Bones. Oh, Lanston, you play Blood and Plunder. Well, then do you like that? Because when it was a Kickstarter, I looked at it. I was like, this might take off. And I was thinking of backing it, but I couldn't find anybody in my area that would have been interested because I thought that would have been kind of cool. Now it's pretty expensive, but the miniatures are pretty neat. And Charles, oh, your main table has a big hex encounter game. Yeah. Those are fun too. Then if you have a big map, it can take up some space. I haven't played those types of games in quite some time, but they are fun to play. And the naval games, like I said the last time I was talking last week, is they kind of strike you as, I don't know if that'd be fun or not. At least it's kind of what I thought. But once I did it, yeah, it's pretty fun. You have to try not to, sail off the table, which can happen. I mean, it does happen. So it's pretty good, actually, in that regard. And so it's a fun game. And on ours, we added stuff to it also, So like a hand painted Kraken that would come up. And we added in, well, what kind of damage would your ship take if it ran across it? Because those were never able to be defeated in the stories, yeah, if you 3D print your stuff, we got a 3D printer too, just a filament one, LanchNet. So we right now Keegan's got it at his house. He's been printing some buildings for like Stargrave, and they can be used with Necromunda because, well, Necromunda, if you're not in the underground part of the game and you're on the top, the Wastelands part, then it's more like a Mad Max, steampunkish open type thing. You can use quite a bit of stuff. So we do quite a bit of 3D printing for terrain stuff. But if you got your figures that way, that's cool too. All right, Charles. Question, Charles. You said 2mm, not 6. I don't know how people paint 6mm figures. 2mm, oh, that's awful small if it's 2mm, sir. I give you props. I don't know if I could attempt to paint that. I mean, unless it's just a coat them in one color kind of thing. So LanchNet, you said Ironclad, don't know, a good set of rules. I'm not familiar with like tons of naval game stuff because I never had a chance to really get into it too much, and but some of it is pretty cool. Mini Warmat say get some rice for the 2mm. Yeah, I give you props, Charles, if you can paint those. I don't know. I have seen some really fantastic work, just artist quality work that people have done on 6mm figures. 15mm figures are pretty tiny, you know. So with that said, I mean I feel pretty confident painting those, and I think I do a pretty decent job. I'm not an expert, but I think they come out pretty good. But I don't know if I could do 6mm. They're just awful tiny. Although I have 6mm, you know, armor and stuff, and there's quite a bit out there for 6mm. So I think for me, it's just a matter of, like I showed you before, I got my little German tanks. They're 6mm. See, they're small, you know, but they're fun to play with. You can put quite a bit on the table if you want with that size. But oof, I don't know if I could paint them that's smaller than that. So cool. I'd like to see those though, Charles. You're more than welcome to share it. And using Restream, like I said, I've had this for quite a long time, a couple of years actually, and I've been using Melon. But today I wanted to get Restream fired back up again because they've got new stuff here in their studio part and see how it goes. And I can invite people. So it's here. I think it'll work if I put it in the chat. So Mini Wormut, I know you're watching the Chiefs, but I don't know if anybody wants to take it. We can try. That'd be cool too. But at some point, Charles, I would like to see pictures of that. That would be cool. You're more than welcome to post them in our group, or even if you want to come on sometime and you could show off what you've done, that would be really cool too, just to see. So it would be nice. This is one thing I've learned doing this the last couple of years is I've learned an awful lot from other people. Like everybody teaches each other. It's pretty nice. Oh, you got Black Seas? All right. Very cool. Then you'll have to, whoops, what am I doing? I want to hide that one. And what'd you get there, Charles? Oh yeah, Sails of Glory ships. Well, I'm not familiar with the Avalon Hill rules, but yeah, I bet they're probably too big for the hexes. That makes sense. Sails of Glory, in and of itself, if you can find the box game, it's pretty nicely done. In your dashboard thing, I mean, because it isn't just a ship you can damage, you can take out the mass, you know, you can shoot the crew. And either the ship loses the mass, you know, and it's dead in the water, or the crew is killed off, of course, it's dead in the water, or you sink the ship. There's a couple different ways to fight in it. And it's a good set of rules. Oh, hey, cool. If you're going to do a video. Even better. Show it off. That would be really cool if you could do that. Because some of these things are better. Whoops. Sorry about that. Some of these things are better to just see, you know. We could talk about like Sales of Glory. I should just take that out. It's been a bit since me and Clint played it, but I got that was a birthday gift at the time from my wife back then, so it was pretty cool. Very nice box set, very, very well done. Oak and Iron is simpler. Oh, yeah, autocorrect. Avalon Hills game. Oh, you played with Napoleon's Battle 30 years ago. I will tell you this, Landschnitt. I remember hearing about Napoleon's Battle, and I didn't realize it was 30 years ago. But I have not played that game, so I'm not familiar with Avalon Hills play system. Well, I'm not familiar with a lot of the naval play systems. Let me put it to you that way, because I play so many different games, but those that do certain games or historically certain games more in depth, it's kind of like I want to kind of get into the old black powder type of games, but there's been such back and forth. I'm not quite sure what rule system would be the best to use. There's several different ones, and everybody's got their own opinion, but it would have to be something simple and a little easier played. But I don't know. And autocorrect always messes things up. I thought it was cool to be able to talk to your phone, Charles, but half the time I say something, especially when it has to do with the hobby, and I'm saying it correctly, but it doesn't understand it, so it tries to change it to whatever it thinks it should be, which is wrong most of the time. So, yeah. I think it just matters as to what game system you personally like would be the best. I would say out of Sales of Glory and Oak and Irons is easier. More of a simpler take on the game, and so it's just going to be a lot easier to play. But Sales of Glory is pretty good. There's several of them. Do I play Space Navy games? Star Wars Armada. I don't have any Armada. I have tons of Star Wars X-Wing. We play X-Wing off and on fairly regularly. But I don't have any Armada, just because our group that we play with here, X-Wings, there's some that do their own. There's a different group at the local hobby store, and occasionally you'll go in there and they'll have big Armada setups. But they're kind of I don't mean to say it in a rude way, because I don't mean it that way, but they're kind of closed off-ish, like they have their own people that they play with. And so the X-Wing guys is different. You just bring your stuff in. You could throw down a game. But Armada looks cool. And Keegan's interested in that, because that's basically what it is. It looks like to me is just a Navy game in space. So do you like Armada? Or you like that? And can you compare it to X-Wings there, Landschnitt? It's a lot easier to see the 28 millimeter figures, Charles, for me. So it's just a bit easier. A lot of the games they're easier to paint. The 15 millimeter I like for, if you're doing like your historical war games like World War II. Mostly World War II seems to be a big draw for that. I like the 15 millimeter just because it's a little easier on the board. There's a little more you can do. Painting them is fine. They come out good painted, and they're not too terribly hard to paint. So Flames of War and Team Yankee is a good one for the late era type war stuff. And yeah, those I like the 15 millimeters, but the rest of it, like this Necromunda, I mean, it's going to be better off being 28 millimeter for painting and moving around and base wise. So I like that too. Yeah, Lanchnit, jump on, man. Take that link. Let's test it. It's been a while since I've used it. Here, I'll repost it again. Let's see how it works. It's the only way to find out. Like I said, I've had it for a few years, but I've been using Melon and some other stuff, and I'm sitting there going, I pay for this every month. I need to use it more. Primarily got it because using OBS, Restream is a great tool. You just can't on StreamYard and Melon do what you can do with OBS, and you just can't. So you need a way to distribute it. That's what I was using Restream for. You know, Charles, I'm not an expert painter. I'm probably more hard on myself than I need to be, but it's just because it's me. Like, I'll play even if they're not painted. I just prefer to, but I'm not somebody that would ever not play with unpainted things or not game with other people that don't either. It's just my thing. And I probably put a little bit of pressure on myself, but I've learned over the years to just kind of relax. It's a game. And the longer I've gone, the better I've gotten at it. Oh, you got 15 millimeter cowboys? This guy's a steampunkish cowboy, kind of, sort of. And I still have these from when I went to Wiley, up there to the Wiley Games thing. We got quite a bit of their figures too. Let's see. Hold on there, Lanchnit. There we go. Brought you on.
Hey, how's it going?
Can you hear me?
There we go. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, there we go. So it's a little low on my end, but yeah, see, the cowboy stuff, I like to paint that too because the fistful of lead rules are good. But the 15 millimeter, like I said, that's about the lowest, smallest I want to go. So Lanchnit, you play quite a bit of the Armada then?
Yeah. I used to a couple of years ago when it first came out. I've got a huge collection of it, but I haven't gotten around to seeing playing very much these days. Not since the pandemic.
Well, yeah, that makes it hard in some areas too. So that's why you'll see me and Mini Worma do gaming sometimes like this, because we can still be in different parts of the world. Like he can be at his favorite buffet, and I can be here. We can game.
Yeah. I just played last Wednesday. I actually played a game of Fistful of Lead.
Yeah.
Reloaded. So.
Oh, did you?
28 millimeter Cowboys. So that was pretty fun.
Yeah, Fistful of Lead rules are good. I like them because it's not a difficult rule set, and it seems to work. And like I said, to me, it's just a matter of whatever rule set everybody wants to agree to. If you like it or not, then go for it. I'm just nowhere near an expert on naval stuff. I couldn't tell you what would be the best. I only know that with the few that I've played, like I said, Oak and Iron's a little simpler, but you can get more detail out of the Sails of Glory game. So it's a little more strategic. And Fistful of Lead's good. So that's why when we went up there and Wiley Games had their thing, we went back in, I think it was March. I bought some of their figures that they make and brought those home. I still haven't got to them because it's life. Every time I turn around to sit down, there's something comes up. Yeah. Some days you just kind of want to reset, like get a reset button and reset everything. But other than that, I would like to be able to win a lottery, be rich enough to just kind of retire and sting around doing the hobby stuff.
That would be the life.
That would be the life, huh? Yeah. And then you got, do you have like a hobby store you go out there and game with people or?
When I can, I've got a hobby store within walking distance of my house.
Oh, do you? Oh,
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 yeah,
geez. That's nice.
and yeah, but there's a choice of hobby stores here in Tucson. There's about 8 different hobby stores here in the city.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah,
We have two. And it's in, well, we're butted up where I live is, you cross the street, it's another city kind of a thing. But
wait,
oh, they're both within 15 minutes of the house. So it's not really no big
nice.
deal to go to them.
Yeah,
Yeah. I went to
so,
both of them today with Keegan. I picked up a little bottle of paint, but he was waiting for some bases he ordered for his truck.
yeah,
Um, and so he wants to base his trucks for this game. So he ordered bigger bases, which I haven't seen bases that large. So that should be fun for him to do.
nice.
Yeah, it'll help. And Charles says he's got Little Wars, Tombstone, Tinderbox, OK Corral. Oh, I see. That would be cool. I mean, I guess my problem is I don't have the time, you guys, to get into all the ones I'd like to do. So it's kind of hard for me to keep up with what I got.
Yeah, I've been exploring different rule systems for Western stuff. My latest one that I'm exploring is the Fistful of Lead. I picked up the Knuckle Buster Studios one, the Gunfighter's Ball, and that was a super amount of record keeping and stuff to do during the game. I'm like, nah, I don't want to mess around with that. It's like
Yeah.
you got to keep. If you get shot in the arm or a leg, you have to keep track of different things. It's ridiculous.
It's that's what kind of killed me with BattleTech. Like the mech fighting was cool, right?
Mhm.
But if you have all these points of impact on one arm, all these points of impact on another arm, you know, it it was too much. It should just be, a little bit less. So some of these are um, too complicated.
Yeah,
Um, and Charles says he retired early. Better to retire early and be poor or keep working and be poor. You know what, Charles? You are correct because it doesn't matter, does it? So you may as well just retire. If you're going to be poor either way, that's it. You may as well just enjoy it. I mean, really. Many more might you said Keegan basing his vehicle. Yep. Yeah. And what else did you say here? Many more might you said Gunfighter's Ball has a lot going on. I don't know anything about that one. Yep, and you were right about that. Many more about that. Wiley just released Battlesuit Alpha. So Wiley Games is pretty much just taking and making rules for all sorts of genres, which is good because the Fistful of Lead rules were fairly simple. Um, and I think I don't know, man. It's just the best way for me is to get people into this hobby is for it to not be too overly complicated,
yeah,
because trying to explain it.
yeah. The Battlesuit Alpha looks kind of neat. So you can do BattleTech with Fistful of Lead rules. The next one I think they're planning on doing is the Gothic science fiction. So it'll be like a 40K knockoff, probably like a fire team Fistful of Lead rules.
Oh, okay. I'll have to wait for that to come out. Mini Wormwood says Reloaded is vicious, especially in close combat. Hmm.
Yeah,
So I just have the Fistful that's Quirrels. That's the only one well, no, I got, what's the other one? Was Wasteland Warriors. But I know they got Galactic Heroes, so I could take my Star Wars figures, and if I want to play using something different than the Legion rules, I can do that too with their rules. So, um, Holy cow. And Charles said Fistful of Lead is what got him deep into miniatures. Yeah, it helps. And then, whoa, slow up, Mini Warm. Hold on. A Gladiator one and then a World War II supplement? Huh, okay. The World War II one I'd probably pick up because I have a ton of like tanks and armor and stuff for World War II. So I'd be interested in picking that one up. Um, and I think their rules are good. If you got a rule set that's too much, then Wiley Games makes it easier for you to game without those rule sets. So they're good rules. But some of them, I think they're lynched that they're just too complicated.
Yeah.
And when you guys sit there and go, wait, let me check the book. Wait, let me check the book. It's like, then it's too much. And then, but I wouldn't want to design rules specifically because people are going to complain. Well, this isn't enough. That's not realistic enough. Well, then it's too realistic or.
Yeah, true.
I would think.
Yeah, some of the rules from Osprey tend to be too simplified.
Yeah. So I think if you, like I said, it boils down to the rule system that you wanna play. I think there are some systems like Wings of Glory. Have you seen that? The World War I Wings of Glory, the old biplanes.
Oh, yeah,
The reason I
played that a couple times.
Yeah, so if you look at it, it's simple, right? You can play it on a simple level, or if you're more of a hardcore gamer, you can play it on a hard level. But at its very simplest level, the miniatures are already painted, the cards are in turn, nobody knows who's doing what, and it's very easy to explain, especially the kids picked it up real easy. And then you can advance it. You can play with the other. You can, adjust how hard you want to play it. So I always revert back to that one particular game a lot when I show people because it's just simple to get them going. Then once you got to have a basis to understand things before you start tackling some of these rules, or you're not sure where it comes from.
Yeah, my gateway miniatures game that I show new people is Gaslands.
Yeah, that's a fun one too.
Yeah, and I can tell them that, hey, you probably even have some little Hot Wheels cars in your house. You can just use for this game.
Well, when Clint first brought it back, I was like, didn't they make that a long time ago? And he said, yeah. So you have Hot Wheels. I have Hot Wheels laying around the house. So we just set up a little track on a table and played. In the meantime, they've come out with like templates, for that are really cheap to pick up at the hobby store. So Gaslands is I didn't think about using that as a gateway into it, but that would be a good idea because it's simple.
Yeah, and people aren't spending hundreds of dollars on a 40K army to try to go, I don't know.
And that's the other thing is this last kill team set I bought was $210, and getting to where I really can't do that. It's hard. It's difficult to do that. So, GW stuff is nice. I'm not knocking that, but the Indominus box I bought a year ago, was it worth it? Yeah, because the book that came with it and all the models and the detail and stuff, it was worth it. The problem is I can't keep doing that. I had to save for that one. And the other one was more of an impromptu. Keegan wanted to do it, so I told the guy at the store, yeah, let me know when it comes in. Oh, I guess I didn't know anything about when it was coming in, so he calls me 2 days later, it's in.
Oh, wow.
Well, crap, I gave my word to the store, right? So I go there all the time. I just rearrange my bills.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna go back on my word on anything, much less at the game store, so but I got those built and we don't really play it a whole lot, although it's a fun game. It's getting too pricey, man.
Yeah, just alternatives there's so many alternatives out there that there's no reason to spend that type of money. It's ridiculous.
That is true. Well, I think what they're doing is the people that really love it, they've got them kind of hooked into it too.
Yeah,
I
Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah, I play enough different games that I'm not obsessed with any one. I just like gaming in general, which is
Yeah,
also a downfall because then I know enough about things to be dangerous, but I'm not an expert
yeah.
on all the games. And Charles said, "You did a battle of 40k orcs versus orgs using fistful that his orcs got up and close personal with their enemies." Yeah, I mean, orcs are they're not very quote shooty, right? So but when they play against my space marines, if my space marines don't kill them at a distance, and they grab those guys, they can beat them up melee style. So that would be good with fistful, and I bet you the orcs would do better with the fistful and rules than they do with the 40k rules. Hot wheel cars. Yeah, if you've got Hot wheel cars, Charles, then that's the way to do it. Gaslands is easy. Yes, Mini Warmut. The I nickname him Lanschnitt, Charles. He's my plastic, dealer. He's the one that got me into Zombicide. So, but that's a fun game too. I mean, at least Zombicide's not some ridiculously expensive game. You get 72 miniatures, the the map, the rule book, your dice, all this stuff to play for about $80. So really, it's cost per miniature and all this stuff. It's pretty cheap. Um, but yeah, yep, he got me on that one too. But then again, like I said, Star Wars X-wing, I like that. That's simple, $30 box game. You can go get it, the new one now. It's 35 bucks. You got enough to play with two people in that box. You don't need to spend any more. So
Yeah.
good, easy games. So yeah, I don't know. That's the problem. Langston is one. If you get too many games, then you just never like. For me, life just sometimes gets hectic. So trying to schedule time to play, it's like I don't have as much time now as I used to, and I don't understand why. But it's just the world is more hectic too.
Yeah.
Um, things are
Same here.
more, and food's getting expensive too. Like I'm telling you, Mini Warmut, I'm thinking of standing out by the freeway with the sign saying "broken hungry hobbyist" because get some, try to save money that way for some of these other sets. But I'm done with um, these big box sets. I only did a couple. I really can't afford to do that. And someone said they're coming out maybe with 10th edition rules. Well, that's too many rule changes. So
All
do
right.
you play any 40k at all, Lanchnet, or have you? Or
I have a Imperial Guard Army, Astral
oh, okay.
Military. That's first edition Rogue Trader.
First edition Rogue Trader, nice. I see
And
you've seen all those changes then.
yeah, yeah. And quite frankly, I think that they really haven't changed the rules too much over the years, and they've not adapted to modern wargaming as much as I would like to see. Um, I would like to see them do like a bolt action random activation type of thing.
Well, yeah, they seem to. I don't understand why they have to keep changing rules. I mean, if like this last one, everybody's complaining about the squats or whatever. Everybody wanted to buy them and they're powerful. Then I guess if it was me, I wouldn't really complain so much if I was going to go up against that person that had them. I would just change my tactics. What am I going to use different? How am I going to do it different? To counteract what they got. But poor Keegan, he bought them and he bought their codex. It was like $50, and within a week they nerfed it. They changed it like it was literally, I mean, you just spent that kind of money on it and boom. And yes,
Yeah,
Walmart, they
again,
want to keep selling books. That's part of their So many Wormwood saying they just want to keep selling books. Yes,
Oh yeah.
that's what it is. The books are beautifully done and they're not cheaply made, man. I can tell you that. I mean, it's pretty high quality stuff they put out, but it's too much for me. So if there's a 10th edition, after I got into Warhammer back at the end of 7th, the beginning of 8th, right? And I started playing, just started learning 8th, and then 9th edition came out. Now I barely got that down because what little I do play, and now they're talking about changing it again. I'm
Yeah.
kind of at a loss like that, so it's like I can't keep up with all that. It starts hurting your brain after a while, you know.
Well, I jumped ship from 40K like over 10 years ago, um, and dove into Infinity miniatures.
Oh yeah,
And I find that's more satisfying than a 40K game. It's more intriguing. It's more, to me, it's more science fictiony. Uh, the way it works, it works like a almost like a science fiction game should work. You know, someone comes up with a giant robot machine. I could have a hacker guy hack the electronics from it and shut it down.
wow, yeah.
They have rules in the game for that, you know.
Well,
So
that's cool if you enjoy it, but you enjoy it. It sounds like.
oh yeah,
So as long as you enjoy it, um, I don't know. I'm not really knocking 40K as a game, just that it's at some point you'd think you'd stop and not continue this, but that's the way they sell stuff. So that's why people are
right.
starting to fall off.
Oh, they're gonna fall off when 3D printing becomes more and more popular and more accessible.
Oh, and it's become quite popular already. So I mean,
Oh
we have a
yeah,
3D printer, and they're pretty cheap to get into. You know, for about the price of a box set, you can get a 3D printer, and then you can purchase files for $3 or $4 and
hmm
start building terrain. Now, I'm not somebody who, like, for instance, I want to play. I'm going to play with my friends, Necromunda. Okay, then I'll get an actual box of the guys, and I'll get the book, but I won't print the figures. But what I will do is print terrain and stuff,
yeah.
because in that game, it's pretty much anything goes. So, and Charles brings up a good point. Dog food has doubled. Lunch meat's up 50%. Yeah, he went to the store and spent $100 for what was 60 earlier this year. So it's hard to do
Mhm.
these things. Yeah, yeah. Last year, a brisket in my area was about $30, and out here now they're about 90 to 110, and it's for the same piece of meat.
Yeah.
So no more going to the store and going to a campground where you can cook a brisket and have some food. Nope, it's getting ridiculous. So that's the other thing too, because it costs more and more and more and more and more to live. You know, I understand prices go up, but at some point, if you've got $2 worth of plastic in a box that you're selling for 35, then you're making a profit. You know. Now, Charles Reaper miniatures, I know a lot about them. I got Reaper, the bones and paints and stuff, and I like their paints. I don't know what is Ral Partha. I haven't heard of that one, but Reaper miniatures.
Real Partha used to make D&D
Oh, did they?
miniatures ages ago, decades ago.
Well, that's good if they're still in business and they made them decades ago. I mean, when D&D came out, I was busy working. When I was done with school, I would had a job after school, so I knew guys were getting into D&D, but I just they were telling me they'd do their games. I understand how it works. I just never had the time then to do that, so I don't recognize that name. But Reaper, yeah, I like Reaper paints too. Some of them are really good. Um, Paint today I picked up is, I don't know if you guys heard. I'm trying to see where I set that at. I grabbed it at the paint store. They got a new selection of paints. Here it is. Ugh. Look, it's a pretty big bottle of paint. Look at this thing. I mean, that's quite a bit of paint. And it says Pro Acrylic. I don't know. Bold titanium white. I needed white paint. Um, I can't. It's all German, so I can't read it. But
Yeah.
we'll see how that goes. Now this was $4, and this is, you know, look at the size difference.
Yeah.
So if this is good paint, then we'll find out. I'm just experimenting with it because this dice tower that Keegan printed, you're talking about 3D printing, see? This is the Doctor Who dice tower that he printed up. So I want to do the window trim. And that's all white because I could do the glass effect in the center, but then I wanted to trim it white just to highlight it because it's blue. But I thought, well, I need white paint anyway, so we'll see. And they have a whole display of paint. So if this stuff is good, I'll let you guys know because, I mean, for goodness sakes, I wonder what the weight difference is. It's substantial holding it. So, oh, well, there you go. I see. Okay, so the Citadel pots that we buy are 12 milliliters, 12. And they're the same price as this, and this is 22 milliliters. So damn near twice as much for the same amount of money. So maybe I'll try that.
I don't use those Citadel pots. Out here in Tucson, the humidity is too low, so it just dries up in a matter of minutes. So I use these dropper bottles with a wet pellet, so I can make it go further.
Nice. Yeah, I know Vinny Wormont lives in Arizona, and I've been to Phoenix. I did roofing out there when I was younger, and oof, that about killed me, man, in that heat. But I haven't lived out there. I went out there to work or I've driven through there. But Iowa, you have over, it's like soup sometimes. It gets so humid that, yeah, you walk outside and you're like, it's like you're breathing water. And it gets difficult with that. So the Citadel paints for me, the thing I like about most of them I like. There's only a few I don't care for. But the one thing that works for me is by the time I'm done painting the miniature, it's pretty much dried, you know, and you can come back to it a couple minutes later and literally start painting other parts. So it doesn't dry so fast you can't use it, but it dries fast enough. If you have the time to sit and paint, it goes fairly well.
Yeah. And they tend to tip over too, don't they?
Yeah, you know the contrast paints, the thin ones, like the Space Marine, the blue one that they got, that's very liquidy, tall pot. I bumped it, and that thing, that was it. That entire bottle emptied literally in a second or two before I could pick it up, all over my desk. Right. Yeah, because it's not stable. The bigger pots, the short little ones, they do tip if you bump them, but they're a little bit more wide. But them taller ones, I like that contrast paint for my Space Marines because then I don't have to go back over them. But I'll tell you what, one mistake and that's like a $9 bottle of paint that's done.
Yeah, I got this speed paint stuff.
And, is that the new one? The Army Painter?
Yeah.
Speed paint?
It's okay, but you got to plan ahead when you're painting because if you attempt to put paint over it, it reactivates the paint and it becomes muddy with whatever paint you want to paint over it.
Oh.
So buyer beware.
Really? So then you have to, so it's got to completely dry?
It'll reactivate even after it's dry.
Well, that wouldn't be good for, would it? I mean, I'm trying to think.
So what I do is I paint all the details first,
Okay.
and then I go back over it, and paint the blocks of stuff that are not detailed.
Oh, okay. Okay. I say, yeah, if it reactivates, that might be a problem.
It is a
Or a
problem.
little bit difficult to get around. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's my first foray into the contrast style paints, and I'm like, oh, I'm told that the contrast for GW doesn't do that, but I'm like, I'm not prepared to jump into GW
I,
boat. But
I can tell you the couple of contrast paints I've used with GW because, like the Black Templars, the reason I like the contrast paint is it saves me a step.
uh-huh,
And Nolan oil that they make, well, it's good. It's dark. It's really dark.
uh-huh,
So, or any kind of backwash you could make, to go back over it with as a wash or a shade. I guess you could attempt to make it. Some people do, but the contrast paints, they settle into the little seams and they flow really well. And once it dries, yes, you can paint over those areas because I'll do it. I'll paint the whole thing in the blue. Then I'll go back over and highlight like their chest pieces in the alabaster gold that they use, or some of the gloves. And it's just fine. It doesn't reactivate like you're talking about it. There's no issue with it. But you're best to just coat the whole thing at once and
yeah,
then go back and do the details, because then everything is, it's coming out from underneath the work you're doing on top, and it doesn't cause a problem that I've noticed with the couple that I've used. I can't say for all their contrast paints, but I haven't had a problem with it. So even if I don't have GW figures, I use some of their paints on other stuff too, um, because of the way it worked for me in
yeah.
Iowa in this weather. But I also like Vallejo paints in Army Painter, um, and I use quite a bit of those and the Bones paints. So I'm not really
Uh-huh.
locked into GW paints. Um,
And
I use them on the GW stuff to try to get the color scheme that they have that I want to use.
right,
Otherwise, I use them for other stuff too. Like I tried this brand today. I mean, I'm not quote brand loyal, I guess. So I'm going to see how this works. If
yeah,
I can get twice as much paint for the same price and it works good, then we'll find out just by simply painting on the dice tower we printed, because I have nothing to lose. I'm not going to mess anything up. If it doesn't work out good, I'll just take a sponge and scrub it off. It'll come off. But um,
yeah. There is another brand called Scale 75, and they're out of Spain, and they make their own contrast called Quick Shade. And I want to give them a shot because they have the dropper bottles as well.
okay.
So, uh, but since I have all this speed paint that I purchased, I want to use that up before I foray into getting other stuff.
Well, once you've used it for a while, let me know how that works for you, because I seen the whole display today, which I hadn't seen before. So they got a whole new big display in the hobby store. But I don't know anything about them other than I heard they were coming out with the speed paint line. So let me know how well it works, because um, I've kind of gotten used to what paints I can use to do what.
Yeah,
So kind of like, so here I'll show you an example. See my trooper here, my Star Wars trooper. So the body, because they're mostly white, I took and I sprayed them with this while they were on the sprue.
huh,
Okay. Why? Because it's meant for plastics, metal, and more. And so $4, I got this big can. Otherwise, the hobby store, they want to sell you a can of paint for 17, 18 bucks.
oh,
Now I've got too much. I'm never going to use it. But this is what I mean by I'm not necessarily loyal to just one paint. So let me see if I can
yeah,
fix this. So there we got, that's the corn, that's the GW red, the corn red for the shoulder pads. And then I just used the Abaddon black. But on this, I used the gunmetal from Flames of War, because it just looks more like a gun.
yeah,
So there's multiple different paints on here. The only drawback to spray painting this guy was when I touched black on accident, because these seams are so tiny. I was like, damn, what am I gonna do? Keegan had a good idea, and I don't know why I didn't think about it, but I'll credit him with that. As he goes, well, just shake your can up and spray it into a cup and then take it inside and paint and touch them up. And I did. And that worked out good. So, $4 for the Rust-Oleum Ultra Cover Primer. Paint and primer is nice white. So if I want to dirty them up, I can use like Agrix Earthshade or something. But Stormtroopers, for purposes of being on a table, are supposed to be white, mostly.
Yeah.
So I got them. That's what I did with them. And then, of course, Vader, I used Abaddon Black. Now, these are not the paints that they sell for the kits. I think I found the Rebel ones because the Rebels have multiple colors. So I did order a little paint set of them. If nothing else, I got extra paints when I'm done. So I could always use that. But I wanted to paint them proper with the colors that they have from the movie and stuff. And I think it's Vallejo. It's either Vallejo or Army Painter that makes them.
Yeah.
So we'll see, but there's 3 different paints: GW, and Flames of War, Battlefront, and Rust-Oleum. So whichever works.
Yeah. I use Rust-Oleum all the time for my primer. So
I use the gray. So like on these, they're going to be primer gray. And it will make the details pop out. But Stormtroopers, I didn't want to primer them gray because I thought if I primer them gray, then I'm going to have to paint them all white. So why not just do it? The only drawback was spraying some can into a crappy little cup that I'm never going to use. And that's okay, so I can touch them up. So yeah, whatever seems to work.
Well, I use different colors of primer spray. Like I literally prime these with these zombies brown.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and then I just build up from there. I primed this one brown, and then just painted.
That's nice.
My Ent. So that's that worked out nicely and easy. So I had to build up quite a bit for the spider.
Those look good though.
I wanted brown because it's more earthy.
Well, it is on the Invader Zombicide. One of the bad guys that are monsters, they call them abominations. So he's supposed to be outside, on a planet, out in the elements, and the core color was kind of an off whitish. So I'm like, no, I kind of did their off whitish a little bit that came with it, and then I went over it with some Agrix Earthshade, so it made it look like he was outside and dirty, and it worked out just fine. It looks good because it looks like he's coming from the outside. He's been out wandering around in bad elements. So I think if you just kind of adapt it, it works pretty good. But I just know I'm not rich enough to continue with some of the expensive box sets, Langenet, like we were talking about. Because you got to get paints, and by the time you're done, you've invested. The good thing is the kids getting into it. My other granddaughters who are older, not the baby, but they like the miniatures too, and they paint them, and they play, so they have fun. So my paints don't ever go to waste. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, all the models on my table here are 3D printed.
Are they?
Yeah. So.
Well, some of our terrain is like this. I think I showed you before. I should see. This is just a 3D printed portable dice tower, and take it with me wherever I go. And I'm not, for the price of the filament, this doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to roll dice. Yeah. In Clint, he's got a resin printer. He doesn't use it very much, but I'll tell you what, when he does, holy cow, the detail on the miniatures is insane. And you get a resin printer, then or something that will print the miniatures, you're good to go.
Yeah, that's what these are, all resin prints.
Oh, you do? You got the liquid resin printer?
Yep, and I've got a FDM printer too. And that's how I never would have gotten into Blood and Plunder if I didn't have these printers, because I got the printable scenery pirate
Yeah.
ship, and I print them out with the FDM printer. And then I don't know what company I got the pirate stuff from, but I print them out with a resin printer, and I'm good to go. Yeah.
Well, there you go. I would say, because when I first seen it, that Blood and Plunder looked kind of cool. And I kind of regret not doing the Kickstarter thing, only because once they came out, the price really went up. And that Kickstarter bundle would have been a heck of a deal. But if you can 3D print the characters to play, then you're good to go. And that's where, like, Wiley's Games rules are a good thing, because you don't have to have official characters, or if you do, you don't. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like I said before, I can take my officially licensed, Star Wars guys and play with their Galactic Heroes rules, or I can play with the Legion rules, or I can do something other than what they came with.
Yeah.
So they're versatile that way, and that's kind of what I'd like to do. Is just game. I'm kind of tired of all the corporate greed and stuff, and the craziness out there on some of this stuff, and it's expensive to try to do. It never used to be, but it is now.
Yeah, I do Patreon with the 3D printing artists, or not printing artists, but 3D artists. I do Patreon, and that gives me a steady stream of models each month.
Oh, okay. You subscribe to somebody, and part of your Patreon subscription is a free model or something?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So it's pretty affordable doing it that way.
Well, see, then you can help support someone that you like,
and
also get a reward. That's cool too. So you may as well. Some people do all sorts of arts and crafts stuff, I noticed, with it too. So some of my stuff I got from Etsy, like I showed you guys before, my first Star Wars X-Wing, I got the movement templates, laser cut on acrylic, and it has Gamers with Coffee on them, so that when we game, we got, it's kind of cool. It's the same exact movement templates. It was really fairly cheap, actually. I think it was less than $20, and I think they're pretty cool. Way more durable than the cardboard templates they give you, and just far easier to do.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I didn't know if you'd seen them or not. So, like, when you're playing Armada and stuff, I don't know if they have the templates, but here, look, Lance, see, so say you have a movement template, see? And so this is one of the templates. It just has our group, Gamers with Coffee, on it, both sides, and it's got the correct marking. So with X-Wing, the base of the model has a niche, so you have to put this up to it, so there's no guessing. And then when you move your model along, the back of the base will clip onto this end, so your movement is correct. So nobody can go, well, I think I moved. No, you made the movement you picked with your ship, because each ship can do only certain movements. So but this helps support those people doing it, and I got what I felt was a quality package of these. I'm happy with it. It's really just kind of fun with the game. It wasn't expensive. Many more. I need to stop and focus on what I have. Yes, that's the thing. We're in like the golden era of tabletop gaming and stuff, and miniatures, and there's so much to choose from that there's a lot of wants out there. I just want to get back to what I'm doing with the stuff I have, and I don't really want to expand too terribly much. Maybe Warm got me into Zombicide, so I expanded on that. And Clint's now wanting to do Necromunda, but I can't really expand too much because then you just aren't going to be able to play. But there's a lot of Man, there's just a lot of games out there that you can choose from.
Oh yeah, all sorts of stuff.
And Charles, you got to get a can of. Yep, the white primer is good. Like I was showing you earlier. Um, I don't. I mean, I'm not affiliated with Rust-Oleum, but this is just some good stuff, and it's the Ultra Mate, so it's flat. You can do whatever you want, but it is pretty fast drying. I take them outside, I put them on a piece of a cardboard box, and spray
Mhm.
them. Dries pretty fast. You don't have to do a lot of coverage, and it's like $4 a can, not 16 or 17 like at the store, the game store. And for the white for the troopers was great, Charles. And then I use the same brand gray to do most of my primers, like the Space Marines and all those guys. They're going to get painted a dark color anyway, so I use the gray for that because it just goes on super smooth, and I've never had a problem with any paint sticking to the model. Did you guys ever get plastic and you don't do anything with it, and you start painting, and then the paint will separate? Then you got to paint some more, and pretty soon you got to recover it. And then when you pick it up and handle it, the paint comes off. It's even on ones that they tell you they've primered and you don't need to do it. Uh,
Yeah,
it doesn't ever work that way for me.
yeah, me neither.
Is that what you use for priming too, Mini Warmut? Okay. Um, so we pretty much all do it. It's a big help in this hobby to do it that way. So I think I'm good for models at the moment. I don't really. I've gotten to where I've got enough terrain. If I was going to get any more quote terrain, it would probably be some more of the historical, like village stuff for World War II, or some of the buildings from back then. I don't have much of that to go with the World War II stuff that we like to do. But um, well, I think go
Last
ahead.
World War II terrain I did was jungle terrain, and
Oh,
I'm focusing on after I paint these guys, I'll probably paint up Imperial Japanese for World War II.
that would be cool.
And just a month ago, I just finished painting up uh, Americans and the specific units, the uh, Bushmasters are what they called, and they fought over in New Guinea and the Philippines against the Japanese. And
Oh, okay.
what's special about them is that they're all Arizonans. So
Nice. Well, the Japanese in World War II would be a good army to pick up, also. I think.
yeah,
So
so
the Clint is he plays the Russians. I have German forces. Keegan plays the Americans.
yeah.
None of us have the Japanese military stuff. I think they only had like one type of light armored tank. They
Uh-huh.
didn't really have much for armor. Their planes though, the Zeros were known for, speed and agility, and they were pretty destructive. And
Yeah.
they had a big carrier group.
So I made a
So,
bunch of jungle terrain.
well, no, that would be cool because I don't have any jungle terrain. I have some regular terrain and some
Mhm.
desert terrain, but
Yeah.
no jungle terrain, which would be good to do.
So well, it's good to do for Japanese, fighting in World War II. And then I also intend on using it for Frostgrave Ghost Archipelago terrain as well as Blood and Plunder. So
Well,
it's
so you're going to get some use out of it then. Are you making your terrain? Or are you just
I've already made it. It's all ready to go.
Oh, cool. Okay.
I just got to paint the miniatures.
Well, that's okay. That'll give you something to do. The jungle terrain. I don't know if see. I've made some of my own terrain stuff like stone walls,
Mhm.
barricades, tank traps. I've actually took Sculpey clay, made the stuff, and then you bake it so it hardens. Otherwise, it doesn't dry. And then I've molded them and resin cast them. So I actually made pieces of terrain myself that way. 50-50 on your dark and light and your resin. But I have done nothing with jungle stuff. I was thinking of maybe buying some of the jungle trees. I'm just not quite sure how to go about making.
Well, I made it really cheap. I went on Amazon and searched for palm trees and just got them in bulk and just built it up that way. Repainted them. They're super cheap on Amazon, so they're not under regular hobby stuff.
How did you know to get them correct size wise?
They have the height in inches of the trees. So I was like, well, it's 7 to 8 inches. That's about 28 millimeter scale. So I just bought them in bulk.
And well, there you go.
I think it cost me. Well, this was before the pandemic, but it cost me maybe about $50 to the flooded table of a 4x6 table of trees.
Well, then that's a good deal. That's a good deal.
Took a lot of time to work on though, because they're not based. So I had to. I bought some MDF from the hardware store, and then cut them up, drilled holes in there, and so I could put the palm trees into the holes and stuff.
So you made your own base to hold them?
Uh-huh.
Nice.
And then on the bases themselves, to make it jungly, I actually went to the 99-cent only store, got some plastic fake grass, and then pulled them out and made the jungly terrain underneath them. So super cheap.
Huh. Let's see. Okay, May Wormut said for $10.99 you can get various size trees, a 32 count on Amazon. Yeah. Okay.
So they're still pretty cheap there.
Yeah, I'll have to look and see because really we don't have any. I guess technically I should at some point pick up a Japanese army because that would give us another option in an area to fight with. But yeah, thanks for the suggestion, you guys, then, because I was like, well, some of this stuff, I mean, when I look for it as a gamer, I mean, not everybody knows what size is what. So I just want to make sure I got the correct scale for what I'm doing so it doesn't look funny. But otherwise, I'll have to check that out.
You just got to pay attention to how tall the trees are, and then you just eyeball it,
Eyeball it from there. Well, palm trees would be pretty tall anyway, so.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
They make variety of heights. So.
Charles says he has enough of everything he's interested in. It's finding time to paint or play. That is where I'm at. There's a lot of want I would like to get into, but I really don't have money and time really to do more than what I'm doing. Matter of fact, I want to clean up some of what I have and condense it. Oh, thank you, Minnie Wormut. He said he sent me a link. All right. I will check Messenger if that's where you sent it. So that is a thing there these days. I used to have time. Always been broke, but I used to at least have time. And so now, when I do get a chance, I enjoy sitting down and painting too, you guys. But I'm one of those that I don't want to do it if I've only got 10 minutes or 15 minutes and I got to leave. I want to have, at least a half hour or an hour if I can to sit down, because once you start, it's kind of too hard to stop. So, but I'll have to check those trees out if that's cheap. Thank you, Minnie Wormut, because I got a message there.
Yeah, if you ever wanted to get into jungle type of stuff. But it was pre-planned it all because I saw the Frostgrave Roast Archipelago and Blood and Plunder, so I was like, well, I'm jumping in.
Yeah, you may as well. I mean, you may as well. That's that's the thing with gaming. There's always a way to expand what you've got. It seems like, or there's a little something different to do. So, like I said, I just got to win the lottery, and then I'm good to go. So, but the way that everything is going, price wise, like what Charles was talking about earlier, it's just getting hard enough to get by, much less
Yeah.
to get extras. And everything that was simply cheap is just getting to be more harder to come by.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to get much easier, but Charles, you got a lot of the GHQ micro armor. Yeah, micro armor is cool stuff. I think I told you once before, Charles. They had it on sale one time, like $70 ad. That one day they were doing it for 35, and I bought them. Yes, go. So I got German tanks, American tanks, Japanese tanks, and Russian tanks, and I got all these little boxes with these miniature tanks in them, and I think that was pretty cool. It was good stuff. And GHQ does. I think there's another one. I want to say CNC.
Mhm.
I think is the other one that does like micro stuff like that on the 6 millimeter scale. They have terrain because one of them. Yeah, I think it's the other one because I've seen micro like sci-fi stuff too. So kind of whatever you'd like to do. I like the historical war stuff, but um, I can only do so much too.
Yeah. Used to do the micro armor, but I sold it all away. It's like a 5 millimeter scale.
Yeah, it's tiny. I have the tanks. I don't want to get the troops though because I don't know how I'd really paint them with any detail. The tanks I can, and those would be fun on a table. You could like play them in a really small area, but um, yeah,
I got enormous collections of 15 millimeter scale from when I used to play Flames of War. So
did you like Flames of War though?
yeah, it was a lot of fun. I jumped the ship when they moved to the fourth edition though. So
It was just more of a. So I got this group here for the Flames of War, the starter force, the German starter force. It's late war, and I built them all. And Keegan's got the American one, so we're gonna throw some of that down. Like I said, we started primarily with armor battles and stuff, is what kind of got our interest, and then the other stuff is fun too.
yeah.
But I can only go in so many directions. I like Star Wars, so hence getting Legion to me was just a progression of doing something with Star Wars stuff.
That's cool.
And I don't mind it because the figures can be used with other rules. Like I said, Wiley Games makes that Galactic Heroes, so I can use their quote fistful of lead rules for them too. So I can get figures I really love, and I'm not bound by just one set of rules with them, unless I want to be. But we'll have to see. I don't know how the Legion rules play. I'll play it out with that and see how I like that. And can't give my opinion on it till I do it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, I used to play the West End Games Star Wars miniatures game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the reason why I played that was because it linked up with the Star Wars role playing game that they had at the time. So you could actually be role playing a game, and then you could switch your figures to a tabletop game, and your characters are on the table playing in a battle.
Wow. Well, it's like Star Trek. So, I mean, I remember, always watching Star Trek when I was a kid. That was fun. But there's nobody for me to play with, so I don't pick it up. And I don't know. Did you ever see a show called Firefly?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I love that show. It's too bad they canceled it, but
Oh,
I
yeah.
thought it was great. Now there's a game based around that too that I see at the hobby store, and every time I go in there, I see a copy because he'll get one or two and then they sell. He'll get one or two and they sell, and I'm always tempted, but I'm like, I already have enough,
Yeah.
and you know, kind of like what Charles said. Once you get to where a certain point, I've got to keep up with it. And then
Oh,
there's Big Wormut, my plastic crack dealer, who likes to get me involved in uh, more and more zombicide. But I've got at least with the zombicide sets again, they're at least worth the money. You're getting a whole ton of miniatures for what you're paying for, and you're not paying a lot. If you could buy a video game, you can buy those, and I think that's a fair price point because then you got the option. But
uh-huh.
I'm just telling you, Lanstead, I'm tempted, man. There's so many other games out there. I'm like, ooh,
Yeah.
but I just it's not feasible to do. And Armada, when you asked about that earlier, it's a game I've thought about.
Mhm.
Keegan's been interested, but it would probably be something we can try down the road because I
Mhm.
wouldn't mind like a couple stage kind of battle where you're like going from Armada, and then part of the campaign would translate down into the ground troops, so I could use my stormtroopers and rebel forces on the ground,
Yeah.
and then you could have the naval battle in space, and then use the others as air. So I've kind of figured a way I can structure that, and maybe it's
Mhm.
just my mind making an excuse for me to buy more, but it's a possibility. But um,
Yeah. Yeah. I got the Stargrave rules, and since I've got a bunch of cowboy models and a bunch of Infinity models, um, I was just simply going to use Stargrave as my Firefly because I've got
that
Western terrain as well as Infinity terrain that will just mix up together and make my own Firefly.
that would be cool. Like I said, I was tempted with that. And Charles says he's got. Oh, you went and used to do rock collecting kind of thing. And he uses his specimens on tabletop. You can with terrain. I mean, that's a nice thing. You can literally go outside and find stuff to make terrain out of if you really wanted to. Mini Wormut says he's looking at TT Combat. Um,
TT Combat.
TT Combat. I don't know, Mini Wormut. Maybe I'm under a rock. So there's a lot of names out there. But see, like I said, I've delved into a few different games and different, genres or niches or whatever you want to call it. But I don't know everything in all these. So, um,
Yeah. What I
uh,
also have to do is a year and a half ago, my wife gave me a whole bunch of armies for Christmas for Saga. I need to get cracking on painting those things up too.
oh, oh, he said it's combat terrain. Oh, city scenics, Wild West, etc. Okay. Yeah, sorry, Mini Wormut. Then I'll have to look them up. And you probably told me once before, I'm sure. Um, But I think sometimes when I get up Monday mornings and I cry before I go to work, I lose a little, of what I remembered on the weekend. I'll look. I'll
City
look into those
Six,
then.
Wild West, etc.
Well, there's a ton of terrain you can get, especially if you don't mind MDF. You can get big sections of. In MDF, I don't know. I mean, I've had some MDF terrain over the years, and it takes a little bit of work, but you can pretty much do whatever you want with it. And that's what you used for your Wild West game, he said. Okay. Um,
Have you tried using the Black Site Studios MDF for Western?
for me or Mini Warmut, he might
Mini
have.
Warfront?
Yeah.
Have you done that? Black Site Studios? What's nice about Black Site Studios is they're domestic. They're not from England, so you're not paying extra money for them to ship it to us.
Yeah, and some of the stuff, the shipping is a killer. If you're getting it local in the States, it's not. But I don't know. Like I said before, a couple things I've sent to uh, and Max NX Tabletop Gaming in Canada. He needed an extra helicopter, so we just sent him one. My God, it was like expensive as hell to send something from here to Canada. I could have drove up there, you know. And then it took forever to get it to a couple guys. The last thing I sent to Canada cost to a guy named Taylor that watches our channel. I just thought, well, that's cool. Let's send him something back. It was $54 to ship it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's it. I can't do that anymore. You know, that was just from the local post office. And then it got hung up in customs. And it's, I mean, from my house here in Iowa to his house in Canada, it's 12 hours. I could have drove there in a work day. And instead it took 3 months for him to get it. I'm like, that's just dumb. I understand a week, but why did it take so long? Charles, we might have holes to fill in our collections. Enough is enough. Oh, wait. Yeah. He's got 10 Hex Encounter Solitaire games on pre-order. Yeah, because really it's never enough. As gamers, we're always going to find something. I just have to temper it down. I don't have the money, first of all, and I don't have the time to go too terribly much more. So I just got to temper it down. Plus, I want to catch up on the things I've got. And it's just a lot easier when you're caught up to continue forward. So, but I don't know, you guys, unless everybody gets rich, I mean, you just kind of can only do what you can do with what we have. I guess I'm not really concerned about buying more. I do get a little anxious about trying to find time to do what I have. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it. When I get those Rebel paints in, I'm going to paint the Rebel end of it up, and then I'll start gaming with those and see how that goes. It looks like it's fairly simple gaming. These here I do after the show here in a little bit. I'm going to go out and primer these up because before it gets too late. That way they can just start drying. And during the week I can just, because I paint a lot on the sprue, to be honest with you. It's just easier for me to hold the sprue and paint, and then I just touch it up when I'm done. And for me, it works out pretty good that way. You bought a bag of pea gravel to use in train building. It's still full in the trunk of your car, the bag. Oh yeah, I bet. That's a lot of gravel, man, in a sack. But that's because nobody wants to buy those little tiny cartons for X amount of money at the hobby store either. So, but that's a heck of a way to do it. You got to do what works for you, Charles. If that works, there you go. Plus, now you're not going to run out of pea gravel, I guess. I still have, those tufts on the strips. You can buy the grass tufts. And then, like Army Painter sells them in a package, and they're different size. You don't always need it all, but you can cut them down too. Cut them with scissors or something. I still have some of that left, and I don't. It's like I'll go in the store and I'll go, wow, there's all this cool stuff, but I really don't need it for what I've got anymore. So, yeah. Like I said.
Yeah. The place I get grass tufts from is Scenic Express, and I haven't ordered from them in years because I have a full stock of the tufts, and they have it for the cheapest price I could find. It's Silver is the name of the company from Scenic Express.
Nice. Well, that's where I'm at. I've got stuff now that's that will never go bad. I don't really need to add more to at this moment. And like these particular, I'm just going to go back to the Star Wars ones. I'm not doing anything with the bases. The bases are gray for the Empire and red for the Rebel. So I'm not going to base them. I'm just going to leave it because they come pre-colored, and I'm just going to leave them alone. So I don't need to do anything with them, which is nice. Once they're painted, that's it. You don't have to do anything with the base unless you want to, but because they're the generic colored bases, I can use them wherever, whatever terrain I'm in, and it's still going to represent that group. But I will leave you with this, you guys. I always want to do just a complete army set in snow, like the bases with the snow effect, their snow camo, like just snow terrain, like a winter one. That's the one thing I haven't had a chance to do yet that I would like to do, but that would be an extra.
Well, the easiest, cheapest way of doing snow is using baking soda and glue.
Yeah, I could see that working too.
And baking soda is super cheap. You get like a box for 50 cents.
Yeah, that is true.
Army.
That's true. Yeah, instead of buying it, I just wanted to. You ever see any really beautifully done, like late war, World War II, late war, where it's all in the winter, and just some of these guys are just artists, and some of it just looks cool. I was just thinking, one of these days, I'm gonna find a reason to come up with doing, a snow army. Aw, what's your dog's name?
Oh, it's Ahsoka.
He's checking out what you're doing, huh?
Yeah, she's a year old, so she's still kind of puppy.
A year old, yeah. Yeah, dogs are cool. They're good to have around. My dog, one of my dogs, we had to put down last year,
Oh no!
and had him for a long time. Just got to where the poor guy would stand up and he'd collapse, and he couldn't walk, and he'd fall, and it was hard to do. And I don't know. We could do another show on pets sometime because pets are cool.
Yeah, yeah. My older dog Gandalf his joints are getting his joints are pretty old now, so he's having trouble walking. So he's getting the same boat, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to do because it's like they're loyal. They don't ask anything in return.
Yeah,
They're there for you regardless. They just want a little bit of love back. So it's kind of nice. I've been very appreciative of the animals I've had in my life. They've been good for me.
yeah, yeah.
Well, you guys, I think I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up so I can get some dinner going. It's heading towards 6 o'clock here where I'm at. I appreciate you coming on, Lance. Anytime you want to come on, thank you for helping me test this out because
Sure.
Restream is, like I said, it's something I've been using with OBS when I do it, and generally because you could do multiple cameras with OBS if you know how that works, and then Restream has always been there long before these other companies on directing it out to where you need it. But now that they have the studio one part of it, I mean, it comes with what I pay for anyways.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna probably go over here and with them and maybe get away from Melon. I like Melon's attributes. I think they do way more than StreamYard, but StreamYard is very expensive. I'm just doing this as a hobby. I'm not sponsored. I don't make money. I don't have money coming in. I really can't afford $50 a month, for a service that I can get for under 20. So.
Oh wow. Okay. I
And
use the free version of StreamYard myself.
yeah, and you can, but for what I want to do, like I need the extra camera, like I just did, right? That's going to cost you $50 a month.
Oh wow.
Okay, so for our group, there's things we do other than just this too, and I have to have the extra camera. It's kind of imperative. And Mini Warmut says, let me catch up real quick. It was good stuff. All right, so the stream's working good. Mini Warmut said I didn't get kicked out. He's gonna switch to Restream. That's what I'm doing, Mini Warmut. This was, like I said, again, I've had them for several years, and I every month pay for it, but I haven't really used the studio part, and I wanted to see how that worked this Sunday. It works just fine. So
Nice.
Holy cow! Charles built a pond, a lake, a wall, and an orc holy place. Wow, good terrain stuff. But I think I'm going to use this from now on out because when you wanted to come on, you didn't have any problems taking the link and coming on, right?
Not
Blanched
at
it.
all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was my concern because we just last Sunday I did that game with all the guys from these other channels, so it was important for me and I enjoyed it. But then all of a sudden it kicked my camera off, and I was hosting it, and I'm like, "Well, crap,
That's not good.
that's not good." So, but yeah, thank you, Mini Warma, for giving me an update, and Charles for hanging out and chit chat. Which you can come on whenever you want to, Charles. Lanched it. Thanks for coming on again, man. I appreciate it. You'll have to show me your jungle train next time.
Okay.
Is that fair enough? So I
Sure.
can kind of get an idea, because that's something I've had in the back of my mind, but I just haven't really gotten to. So,
Okay.
but,
Hey, there you go.
all right. Well, thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. And if you can, hop back on next Sunday, and I'll catch you guys then. Thank you, man. Have a good evening, sir.
You too.
Bye.